Good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday, and welcome to another part of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 6. That was a cover of the intro by Amelie, so go check out her other covers if you're interested. That's probably my favorite cover of the intro song that I have heard, so gotta give credit where credit's due. How's everybody doing tonight? Hello, X-Dude. Hello, Proxima. Great to see you both. Welcome, welcome. Konbanwa, indeed. We're actually pretty close to the end of the chapter. From what I gather, there are only, like, I think 3 more sets of tips we have to go through. So probably 6 more of the, like, to be continued sections. So we can probably get through it in the next 2 or 3 streams. Which, great. We're making some fantastic progress. Very happy about that. Also, I just encountered, while I had that cover pulled up on YouTube, I encountered a hilarious recommended for me video. Are you guys familiar with, like, the X, but there's no context videos where it'll be, like, a TV show or, like, a movie, but, like, they'll just put a bunch of out-of-context scenes together? I had one of those for Higurashi When They Cry, and the title was Higurashi, but Rena Took the Context Home. Which I thought was hilarious. That is an A-tier meme video title, so there we go. Let's boot up the game and get things going. Today's been full of streams, so we haven't gotten much else done. Yeah, sometimes there are days like that. This weekend I've had 2 Archipelago sessions that I've taken part in. The one yesterday I played DK Country 2, which took a little bit of time but wasn't too bad. And then today I had one where I played Kingdom Hearts 1, which I beat in like a little over an hour, which I've never had it happen that fast before. So that was cool. That was a little fun thing to have for the weekend. Mainly just because it's been... Weather here in Michigan has been weird. Yesterday, like, the last several days have just been really rainy, so you can't really do much outside. And it was like 70 or 85 degrees. And then today, it snowed. It's crazy. Anyhow, welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 6, everybody. So last stream, we learned a whole lot more about Rena's belief in Oyashiro-sama and her potential mental issues, where she saw maggots in her blood that were, like, wriggling around, and she's convinced that the curse of Oyashiro-sama is, if you leave the village, there will be maggots in your blood, and they'll only go away if you move back in. Which apparently Takano kind of studied in her research. She gave her research to Rena. Then she died, in double quotes. And now Rena's like, oh no, they're going to come after the research and they're going to try to get me. And apparently Keiichi ran into some guys who in a white van who were indeed kind of looking for her. So, yeah. Conspiracy's getting interesting. So, let's load. End of chapter 8. Here we go. Uh-oh, phone calls in this are never good.
すまなかった、レナ。俺はどこかでレナの話を疑ってたよ。
Oh, this is an interesting song.
本当にすまない。
いいよ、ケイチ君。そのおかげで待ち伏せをやり過ごせたんだしね。
あいつらは何者なんだ。そのお社様信仰を復活させようとする信者の集団の手先。
I don't know.
彼らにはそういう自覚はないと思う。彼らを操っている黒幕はそうなんだと思うけどね。多分ダム戦争の当時から陰で様々な工作をしてきた連中なんだと思う。
Oh yeah, groovy.
ダム戦争の最中に園崎家が裏で色々と暗躍したって話は俺も少しは聞いたことがあるな。
有名な話だよね。これは大石さんに聞いたんだけど、ダム戦争の最中に誘拐事件があったんだって。
True.
これも秘密の事件なんだけど、なんでも建設大臣の孫を誘拐してダム建設中止の約束を裏取引したんだって。
大臣の孫を誘拐？
Yep. Sonozakis were behind that.
おいおい、そんなの聞いたことないぞ。
大臣が犯人との取引に応じる姿勢を見せたため、事件を公にしないことになったんだって。大石さんは当時その事件に関わったから知ってるんだって。
And he personally helped get them back. Teaming up with Best Boy Akasaka.
それで？
大石さんが言うには、孫の誘拐や大臣の脅迫などの手口は恐ろしいほどに高度だったんだって。その事件は園崎家が命令を下したことだけは分かっているけど、結局未解決なんだって。当時園崎家の当主である園崎お涼は武装闘争の方針を打ち出していて、配下である暴力団組織の中に 特攻隊を組織したそうなの。
Yeah, Oreo, not a fan of her.
ダム計画の撤回がどうしても望めないときは建設省に突入して武力制圧しようなんて、そんな物騒な計画を本気で練っていたらしいの。
Everybody knows that the Sonozaki family had tried to stop the dam project, even if it meant breaking the law. So I wasn't surprised to hear that she had a dangerous plan like that. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Mion who came up with the idea. The plan sounded just like her. That's a problem!
結局その計画は計画のままで終わったんだけど、それを実行するための特攻隊の訓練というのは行われていて、相当高度なものだったらしいよ。
Uisi had uncovered the information right after the dam conflict ended. At the time, Oreo even said that if the village was going to be submerged, all members of the Onikafuchi Guardians would choose to stay in their houses and drown. So because Oreo's behind those things, I couldn't just laugh off the idea of an armed assault on the Ministry of Construction. According to the information Uisi seized, she planned a suicide mission as a last resort when the dam conflict started to heat up, in case their resistance wasn't successful. She had actually obtained weapons and put people through training for the sake of that plan. Wait, hang on. Was it a plan that she was going to suicide it, or that she was going to make other people do that? Neither are good, but still. Hey, Shirley, how's it going? You just got here. What the hell is she talking about? This is back in the day of the dam project, where Oreo was going to go to extreme methods. And she actually did. But then she's pointing out that the guys who were in the white van who were kind of looking for Rena are probably similar people for the ones who were going against the dam conflict. The attack corps were flown to America, having received a huge amount of money from Oreo for the operation. In the southern desert of the United States, some retired military soldiers gave them highly professional training. Really? While the plan was never carried out, the Special Attack Corps became a death squad under the direct control of Oreo after they came back from America. They were involved in many unsolved terrorist incidents, and they succeeded in kidnapping the grandson of the minister as well. Man, and Oisi kind of kicked their butts, too.
嘘みたいな話だな。
みーちゃんがよくヘリの操縦から無線機まで何でもできるみたいなことを言うでしょ。
No, I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it.
あれは本当。みーちゃんも当時その訓練に参加してるらしいよ。
Really?
じゃああいつ本当に。
まあみーちゃんの話はともかく。
Well, was that Mion or Shion?
このひなみ沢には大臣の孫すらも誘拐できるだけの暗殺部隊が存在するってことだけは疑っちゃダメ。
I didn't take a close look at the four men in the white van today, but thinking about it, they did look professional in a way. They were pretending to just be taking a break, but I could tell they were tense the whole time.
それであいつらはレナの命を狙っているのか。
多分狙ってはいないと思う。
Wasn't there someone chasing Keiichi in Chapter 1 when he almost got hit and fell into the rice paddy? Oh yeah, there was absolutely somebody who tried to hit him in a van, which might have been the same one. So it could have been the same thing. But again, Chapter 1 is kind of a mess from a understanding it perspective for me.
殺すだけだったら私もう殺されてるよ。
Yeah, they should know where you live, so.
じゃあ狙いはまさかあれか、高野さんのスクラップ帳。
圭一君が見た通り連中は相当警戒心が強いみたいで、隙を見つけない限りは強引な手段に訴えてこないみたいなの。だって強引な連中なら私の自宅の寝込みを襲えばいいんだから。
True.
それをしないってことは結構慎重だってことになるな。
多分私がスクラップ帳を持っているという確信がないからだと思うの。彼らはミオさんを殺し、持っていたスクラップ帳を全て処分しようとした。ところが一番重要な数冊が抜けていた。
Maybe they're the ones that go after Rika? Maybe. Here's the weird thing. If Rika knows how she's going to die, why doesn't she just try, like, running away? Or hiding? Or, like, doing something to prevent it? That's what I don't get. Like, surely it's not impossible for her to change her fate.
それで自分が狙われているのを察して誰かに預けたんじゃないかと考えてるんだと思うの。その有力候補が私なんだと思う。でも確証がないから強引な手段に訴えられないんだろうね。
Scrapbooks? Weren't the scrapbooks just proven to be rambling in Shion's chapter? No. See, Rena got some extra so they both got the big scrapbook, but after Takano talked with Rena, she's like, you know, Rena, you really believe in Oyashiro-sama, don't you? Like, you've got personal, like, experiences. I'm gonna give you my top secret notebooks with, like, my super secret research. And so those were the ones she's referring to. Well, now we know what happens to people who leave the village. I'm still convinced that that's not what happens when you leave the village Proxima. I still think that was a schizophrenic reaction from Rena, or some kind of mental illness.
レナ、お前、かなりヤバい橋を渡ってるんじゃないのか？
そうだね。ちょっと怖いかな。でも、そう簡単には消されないよ。私は大石さんと連携している。
Oisi seems like you can trust him.
有事の際に備えて。
Unless it comes to loaning him money. In which case, oh no, that's definitely just going to be used in Mojang games.
そうだ、大石さんはどう言ってるんだよ。
大石さんも、園崎家が何らかの暗躍をしていないか、監視してくれてるよ。
Hence why he immediately showed up to arrest people in Chapter 2/5.
高野さんのスクラップ帳の話はしたのか？
うん、話してない。
警察には話した方がいいだろう。それに警察ならきっと力になってくれるぞ。
圭一君、私は君にだって信じてもらえるか自信がなくて話せないでいるんだよ。
It's called Higurashi when they cry, not Higurashi when they laugh.
大石さんに話したって絶対に信じてもらえるわけがない。
Although, there's been a shocking lack of crying from my part during this series. Will this series make me cry at some point? That's the real question. Place your bets now.
なあ、レナ、もう煙に巻くのはなしだ。話してくれ。一体何なんだ？何がスクラップ帳に書いてあるんだ？高野さんが消されるほどの何が書いてあるんだ？
Well, nothing. She just had a body double burn alive in an oil drum in the mountains.
簡単に言うと、このスクラップ帳に書いてあることが事実なら、彼らの神が貶められることになるの。
神を貶める？
Hey, Fomoa, welcome. Trusting Uisi kind of wavers at times. I still haven't forgotten how we met him in Chapter 3. He was kind of a jerk in Chapter 3, wasn't he? But again, he was working to try and solve the cases. In that case, we were the guy who murdered Tepe. So him being like, hey, nice to see you, and like being rough with us makes sense. Except when we first meet him. But he is on the side of good. He's trying to figure out what's causing these murders, so... Uisi is now involving another nutty teenager in the conspiracy. Yep. Oh, yeah, you weren't here for last time, Shirley. Yeah. Now it's like a lot of Chapter 1 is repeating just with Rena in Keiichi's place, which is very interesting.
そう、お社様の神聖性が失われてしまう。だから、お社様信仰を復活させようとする彼らは、絶対に伏せたいと思っているの。
すまん、レナ。もう少し分かりやすく言ってくれ。
Could you maybe explain it better?
つまり、どういうことなんだ？
つまり、お社様は神様じゃないってことなの。
Well, he's a demon, right?
神様じゃない？
I have no idea what she read that made her so certain, but whatever it was, it'd be sacrilegious for people who believed so strongly in Oyashiro-sama.
お社様の教えっていくつもあるけど、その原点はたったそれは中から出るな、外から入るなという。
Don't let anybody into the village. That's a surefire way of having the village die out.
この大原則を守るために、その他の競技を発展させたと言ってもいいくらい。
Takano theory, she's a cult leader and kills Tomotage, and then, I don't know why she's faking her death. Takano is a mystery. I know she kills her boyfriend, because she was definitely disposing his corpse in Chapter 3. She does fake her own death. She's obsessed with Oyashiro-sama. We also know that now that the drugs that she administered to Tomotage made him hallucinate the maggots within him. And she was like, oh, I'd love to study that disease up close and, like, see it happen. And it's like, okay, is she just a complete loon? Or there's probably something more going on with him. Her. Sorry, I looked at Uisi's name in chat. And I'm like, hey, what the? In Chapter 3, he almost broke our shoulder for no reason. Oh, that's true. He was very rough with us, and Coach had to be like, bruh, what are you doing? Back when Coach was the voice of reason.
隣人を愛せとか家内安全とか縁結びの神様なんてのは本当に後から取ってつけたものでした。
You know it's a cult when the love your neighbor stuff comes later. In other words, Oyashiro-sama existed solely to stop the villagers from going outside the village. Oyashiro-sama doesn't bless the villagers or protect them from disasters. The people that believe that Oyashiro-sama does all that for them, but the truth is that the people abused his name for that purpose, generation after generation, and nothing more than that. Why did Oyashiro-sama descend in the first place? Because demons came out of the Onigafuchi swamp and attacked people.
実はこの時点で解釈が違ってたの。鬼が湧き出して襲ったんじゃない。湧き出したものにやられると人々を襲う鬼になるの。
Well, that could still be the same thing, demon possession and all that.
湧き出したもの
Somebody once told me. Whatever came out of the swamp possessed people, crawled into their blood, controlled them, and turned them into demons. People had no resistance against whatever it was that came out of the swamp. They became demons, attacked the other villagers, and turned them into demons as well. That's right. Oh, photo negative. Looks so pretty. It was a weird infectious disease that broke out of the swamp. It made the infected people go out of control. The villagers saw this disaster and explained it like so. Evil demons came out from the bottom of the swamp, possessed people, and turned them into demons as well. That is the truth of the story of the demons that came out of Onigafuchi Swamp.
確かにそれだと伝説をうまく説明できるな。じゃあお社様ってのはひょっとして異国から来た医者？
そうだね。正確には正しくないけど。
The Shrek fungus.
医者と呼べる存在。それが降臨して伝染病を治療したの。でもそれは治療ではなく対処療法でしかなかった。
All his treatment could do was reduce the symptoms of the infection. Villagers could have their symptoms suppressed, but there was no way to kill the parasites that had infested them. After a while, the village was divided into two groups. One group was made up of the people who were already infected, and the other consisted of the people who weren't. Without a cure for the disease, the uninfected looked down on the people who could only suppress their violent symptoms. They even talked about drowning them in the swamp, but they knew killing the infected people wouldn't solve the problem. The parasites came out of their water sources, including Onigafuchi Swamp. They couldn't fill them all in, for if they did that, they would lose their access to drinking water. They could have chosen to leave the village, but that was hard for them. For that was the location of their ancestors' graves. Is Coach the doctor who came in? No. This is like way back a long time ago. Not like Coach I think is only like 30 years old or whatever. Yeah. Under the power of Oyashiro-sama, infected people could live without showing symptoms. So both those who were infected and those who weren't decided to live together equally and to coexist with the parasite. Oyashiro-sama was impressed by the villagers' decision. He decided to stay there and continue to treat them.
それがお社様がこの地にとどまり人と鬼の生活を見守ったの真相か。
そしてお社様は感染者である村人たちに症状を出さないために掟を作った。
Yeah, I don't think that's how that folklore would work.
その最大にして唯一のものが村から出てはいけない。外から人を入れてはいけないだったの。
But he came in.
外から人を入れてはいけないってのはわかるぜ。感染者を増やさないためだろう。でも出てはいけないってのはどういう意味なんだ？
寄生虫たちは気候や風土の関係でこのひなみ沢の地でしか生きられだから宿主である感染者がこの地を離れようとすると強い症状を出してそれを妨害するの。
Why is the climate here so unique from the climate like literally one town over? I have to imagine they'd be extraordinarily similar.
その妨害こそがいわゆるお社様のたたりの正体。
The strongest symptoms of the infectious disease were violence and delirium. That does describe everybody who gets the lizard eyes. The infected people acted just like demons, and the impact of seeing them in the throes of the disease was strong enough to make others describe them as such. They couldn't even let people leave who had just come to the village. If they had left after being infected, they might go crazy in a faraway land, turn into a vicious demon, and cause a disaster. Infected people were never allowed to leave. When an infected person left the village, they brought him back by any means necessary. That was what it really meant to be demoned away.
ちょっと待てよレナ。だとしたら俺やレナも村人はみんなその病気に感染してることになるよな。でも俺たちは ひなみ沢を離れたって別に何の問題もない。
Rena's like, yeah, about that.
実際村人にも結婚したりして遠方に住んでる人も少なくないらしいじゃないか。
Keiichi thankfully poking holes in this theory.
ひなみ沢をちょっと離れたからって錯乱して鬼と化したなんて聞いたことないぞ。
そう、それはまさにお社様の目論見通りにことが進んだからなんだよ。意味がわかるかな。この村を長い間封印してきたのは寄生虫の害を弱めるためなの。
Hosts are very important for parasites. If something happens to the host, the parasites that live in the host have to share the same fate. In other words, if the host went crazy and attacked people, the host would be captured and killed, which means that the parasites would die with the host too.
そうか、自然淘汰か。
さすが圭一君。そう、この地で長く生活を重ね、厳しい戒律で生活を続けた結果、寄生虫に対し過敏な人間は錯乱して結局殺された。また感染者を錯乱させてしまうような強すぎる寄生虫はこれもまた錯乱した宿主と共に殺された。
Yeah, exactly. Toмотake is from Tokyo, and he gets killed by Takano's drugs, not a parasite inside of him. To be fair, we don't know for sure if it's drugs that got injected, but that seems to be what makes most sense. That's what Uisi believes happens, and to me, that makes sense, because we're like 99% sure Takano killed him, and she would have access to drugs as a nurse. Even if Coach is like, I don't have drugs like that in my clinic. It's like, well, maybe she's double dipping in different clinics.
その結果、寄生虫と人間
Or
は
maybe she brewed
互い
them
に相
from
性がいい
scratch.
種だけが残っていった。これこそがお社様の伝説が伝える鬼と人の血は混じり合ったことの真相。
じゃあつまりその寄生虫はほとんど無害なわけなのか。
うん。ミオさんのスクラップ帳によるとそういった
Rena's just reading cold nonsense, maybe.
ケースというのはかなり多いんだって。
Mio is definitely part of a cult.
食文化にもよるけど、例えば生肉を食べる国では国民の8割くらいが感染している例もあるんだって。でも矯正できてて人体に全く無害だから誰も治療しない。だから撲滅もされない。
なるほどな。
太古の綿流しはね、実は腹綿流しと書く物騒なものでね。
Oh yeah, isn't it actually called, like, doesn't Watanagashi or its original name mean intestine drifting? I think we learned that earlier.
恐怖を食らうものだったの。でもこれも必要なことだった。
感染して犠牲になった人を食らう。
What? Why would you do that?
まさかワクチンとか。
圭一君はやっぱり頭がいいね。
What?
ミオさんもそう読み解いてる。
How in the world do you get vaccine and be like, they're eating people?
伝説では犠牲者を生きたまま解体して食らったなんて物騒なことになっているけど、実際はそんな野蛮なものじゃなくて、もっともっと医学的に取り扱われていたらしいの。強すぎる寄生虫のせいで死んだ犠牲者からワクチンを作り出し、同時に村人の抵抗力も高めていった。
お社様ってのは何者なんだよ一体。医学先進国っていうとドイツか。正体はひょっとして
It was Hitler.
ナンパして流れ着いた外国人医師。
多分圭一君の答えが一番一般的だと思う。ドイツ人ではないんだけど、とりあえず医者的な存在であったのは正解。
古代の伝説の秘密が明かされていくってのはなんだか面白いな。
I don't know if I believe this, though. I still think there's demonic activity going on. You're lost. You refuse to understand this nonsense other than the cult stuff. I don't really accept it either. I still am of the opinion there's something demonic going on behind the scenes. But this is kind of an interesting interpretation of it. I don't think that Rena's story is too crazy to be true anymore. It still sounds crazy, of course, but I've never heard any theories that explain the legend of the village better than this one.
多分俺も感染してるんだよな。なんだか体中が痒くなってくるぜ。
Uh-oh.
人間だって一つの宇宙だよ。体の中には無数の細菌たちが住んでいる。その中には私たちの生活には欠かせない有用な細菌たちも少なくないんだよ。
ああ、よくヨーグルトとかの CM
Yes, it's just like yogurt.
確かにそうだ。
これもミオさんの受け売りだけど、例えばシロアリっているでしょ。 木材を食い荒らしてしまうアリ。実はシロアリって木材を消化できないんだって。体内に寄生している特殊な細菌が食べた木材の繊維を分解してくれて、
I did not know
その
that.
結果シロアリは木材を吸収できるんだって。これも寄生虫と共生している一例だね。
I didn't know that. When I hear the word parasites, I feel creeped out almost instinctively, but now I know some of them aren't so bad to us.
だから太古の昔に鬼ヶ淵村から突如発生した奇怪な伝染病は今ではほぼ根絶されたと言っていい。
Oh, so this literally means nothing because people still go crazy.
根絶じゃないね。無害になったと言うべきだね。
Also doesn't matter, Rena.
最初はとんでもない話だと思ってたけどさ、こうして種明かしがされるとなんだかサイエンスな感じがしてちょっと面白い話だよな。
私たちには面白いよ。でもお社様を神として崇める人たちにとってはこれはとても不愉快な説。
Of course. If Takano-san's theory is correct, Oyashiro-sama isn't a god. And the punishment by that god, namely the curse of Oyashiro-sama, that people have been so afraid of, will turn out to have just been the symptoms of an infectious disease. I see. So that's what dethroning God would mean.
だとすると、もしこの伝染病の病原体を特定して世間に発表されるようなことがあれば、
Cool!
信仰は破綻しちまうな。
Yes, let's get rid of this fake cult.
そう。
Oh, hey! Hand-drawn telephone! We can use that as the thumbnail.
それこそが彼らの一番恐れることなの。
Oh, now we're in Rena's perspective.
そしてミオさんはその病原体を特定しようとしていたらしい。
Rena has an abacus! Wow!
そのミオさんが消されたということは
特定できたってことか。
かもしれないね。ミオさんはもういないし、彼女のスクラップ帳にも特定できたとは書かれていない。
Oh, that's so cool how with the perspective change, Rena's voice is now louder and clearer and Keiji's is quieter and muffled. That's really good attention to detail.
消されるに値する理由が他に思いつかないの。
でもよ、20世紀ももうすぐ終わろうっていう現代だぜ。村人だっていろんな医療機関で検査を受けてきたはずだ。なのにそういう怪しげな寄生虫が摘出されたって話はないんだろ
う。うん、確かに病原体そのものは未だ発見されていない。でも確かに何かの規制を受けていることの信号だけは確認されているんだって。
なんだって？本当かよ。
When a parasite enters a human body, the body's immune system cells, eosinophils, and macrophages try to kill the parasite. They secrete an antibody called immunoglobulin E, IgE. The most common way of checking if a person is infected by a pathogen is to look at the levels of this secretion. According to Takano's research, people from Hinamizawa have a very high level of IgE in their blood. That's not all. They also have obvious symptoms of being infected by parasites. They don't have any allergies. IgE stimulates mast cells, and they secrete histamines and serotonin as a result. These cause an allergic reaction. That allergic reaction isn't pleasant for humans, but it's necessary for the body to kill the pathogen. But the parasites don't want to be killed, of course, so they secrete substances that counteract IgE. As a result, IgE stops stimulating the receptors of the mast cells, which stop secreting the chemical compounds. As a result, the antigen-antibody reaction, namely the allergic reaction, doesn't occur. In other words, a human body that was infected by a parasite secretes a high level of IgE, but that doesn't display allergic reactions. For your information, a human body that's infected by a parasite doesn't suffer from hay fever. You get hay fever due to your body secreting a large amount of IgE because it's a mistaken pollen for a parasitic invasion. As a result, a large amount of stimulants like histamine will be secreted, but your body can't contain the parasite that it's attempting to kill. That's why your body continues to secrete IgE. As a result, the stimulants keep causing allergic reactions. That's how hay fever works. If you have a parasite in your body, it'll deactivate your IgE and suppress the secretion of stimulants. Thank you. I think we get it now. As a result, you don't have an allergic reaction. Thank you. We said that already. In other words, there's no hay fever in Hinamizawa, and you can cure your hay fever by moving here. Sure.
つまり特定はできなくてもその存在だけは
That
疑いようがな
means
いってわけだ。
if we get one case of hay fever in the history of like Hinamizawa, that completely debunks all of Takano's research.
そうなるね。
だとすると、そのスクラップ帳は狂信的な連中にとっては十分危険な存在だな。たとえ特定できなくても、 存在を証明してる時点で十分に危険だと思うぞ。
No, I wouldn't say prove, just, theory.
そうだね。
Game theory.
たとえ証拠にはならなくても、彼らにとってはミオさんを葬るに値する危険性があったと思う。
確かに恐ろしい秘密だな。ちゃんと説明してもらえば理解できることだが、いきなり聞いたら刺激が強すぎる話だぜ。
でしょ？だから私も最初は信じられなかったし、圭一君に話しても信じてもらえないと思った。
で、大事なのはその事実を隠蔽しようと暗躍してるヤバい連中がいるって方なんだよな。
そう、今大事なのはそっちの方。
The fanatics who want to revive the sanctity of the god they worship. Reviving the majesty of their god means reviving the power of that god. And the power of their god is the infectious disease. This infectious disease can't spread nationwide, unlike other infectious diseases. So from now on, I'm going to start calling it an endemic disease. That fits better, since it only affects this region. Anyway, the endemic disease of the current-day Hinamizawa is different from the one of old times. It's been through a process of natural selection, and it's harmless now. In other words, it doesn't do any harm to human bodies. That harm was once interpreted as a curse. A curse is the power of a god, so a harmless endemic disease means that the god is powerless. That means that the only way to regain the majesty of that god is to revive the curse. In other words, they want to bring back the primitive endemic disease, namely the harmful, strong version of the parasite.
ちょっと待てよ。
What if Takano's already reverse engineered it, and that's what she gave to Tomatake?
信者たちは神が実は寄生虫だったなんてことは否定したいんだろう。なのに寄生虫を研究するのかよ。矛盾してないか？
矛盾しているよ。だからこの研究は信者たちのトップだけが知る秘密の研究なんだと思う。彼らは表向きは信仰を盛り上げているけど、その裏では信仰の正体について極めて冷静に理解していて。
なるほどな。おいおい、なんだかとんでもない話になってきたぞ。
I don't know what to think about any of this.
ミオさんのスクラップ帳にはそうとは一言も書かれてないんだけど、私監督の診療
Is
所っ
that
て
Coach's clinic?
怪しいと思うの。
Not its actual name.
慰霊診療所か。
Yep.
どうして？
ひなみ沢の規模から見て施設が立派すぎるのがその理由。
That's true. It's a very fancy hospital for a tiny little rural town.
そしてミオさんはそこに勤めていた。監督は園崎家にスカウトされてきた細菌学者が正体とか。
監督がか？
ミオさんは余計なことを知りすぎたから消されたんだと思うの。
Or if she faked her own death, maybe she's in charge of it.
なのに監督が消されない理由は、監督は信者たちに依頼されている立場だから。
そして太古の有害な風土病を研究してるってのか？あの監督が。
Well, we already know he's a creep, so...
ごめん、監督は無関係かもしれないね。今のは私の思いつき。でも研究は間違いなくどこかで誰かにさせている。そしてその研究には5年かかり、ついに完成を見た。
The first case was the dismemberment murder by the dam construction workers. Their quarrel had turned into a lynching. They might have had the primitive infectious disease, and the symptoms, the aggression and delirium, might have kicked in. The victims of the second year were Satoko's parents. There were no witnesses, so the whole event is veiled in mystery. But there's a theory that someone might have pushed them over the cliff since the fence of the observation deck that they fell from was quite sturdy. What if one of them was infected by the primitive parasite? He or she might have become violent and pushed the other off the cliff. The Shinto priest died from a disease, and his wife drowned himself in the third year. He might have died of shock because of a hypersensitive reaction to the infection. His wife might have gone crazy and committed suicide when one of the symptoms, delirium, kicked in. In the fourth year, Satoshi Hosho's aunt was beaten to death, probably by Satoshi himself. Everybody who knew Satoshi-kun remembers how he changed at that time. But he didn't, though! Everyone's like, oh, he changed. No, he did not! We literally saw him in Chapter 5, and he acted very normal. He gave, like, a fairly straightforward phone call, just like, hey, can you look after Satoko for me? And then she just wasn't seen again. So no, he did not go crazy. He showed signs of being both aggressive and delirious. No, he didn't! And the fifth year, for the first time in 5 years, the victim experienced the maggot disease described in the old scroll of the Furide Shrine. The reason behind that is unclear, but the stronger primitive parasite could have given its victims a delusion of maggots. That means that they finally managed to duplicate the curse of Oyashiro-sama after 5 years of research. Tomitake-san is the victim of the 5th year. He died in an extremely abnormal way, and I'm the only one who understands his death because I experienced the same thing. He kept clawing at his throat to get rid of the maggots and died as a result. With all that explained, I finally understand the maggot disease I experienced in Ibaraki. I left Hinamizawa, and it made the parasite in me uncomfortable. As a result, it tried to resist, even though it wasn't very strong, and it tried to make me homesick. But with my parents' divorce, I grew mentally unbalanced, and I completely lost the power to resist for a period of time. The parasite was weak and harmless, but my mental instability allowed it to worsen my symptoms dramatically. As a result, I went crazy and became violent. The delusion of Oyashiro-sama appearing to me in the bathroom was probably the terminal phase in my delirium. I created the supernatural existence, Oyashiro-sama, that I was instilled with when I was little. Then I persuaded myself to go back to Hinamizawa based on that delusion. So she's just totally changing her mind. She was convinced that it was an actual guy. Now she's like, oh, nope, I was delirious. Huh. Some of the transcendents of Onigafuchi must have had the same kind of experience. They must have passed their experiences down as the acts of a god. I remember I once saw on TV that the indigenous people of South America used some kind of natural drug in order to have a mystical experience. And that they called it a ritual to communicate with their gods.
じゃあ、信者どもの目的は、その太古の寄生虫をひなみ沢中にばらまくことなのか？
多分、それが最終目的だと思う。でも、人知れずにそれをやることはないと思うの。宗教にはセレモニーが必要だから。だからもし、彼らが望むものを生み出せて、それをばらまく日が訪れたなら、彼らは多分それをお社様の復活の人でも称して宗教的なデモンストレーションをすると思うの。何か特別な儀式とか、とにかくお社様の復活を祝い知らしめるような盛大な何か。
なあ、それってよ、悪いことなんだよな。
危険性の高い病原体をばらまこうというんだから、多分悪いことに分類されるだろうね。
それって細菌テロじゃないか。
Yes! You think Oreo cares about that?
おい、めちゃくちゃヤバいことだぞ。おい、富武さんの死に方がお社様のたたりの再現に成功していた以上、X デーは間近ってことなんじゃないのか？
わからない。もう秒読みなのか、まだまだ時間のかかることなのか。
もうこれはジェナ一人が抱えていい問題じゃないぞ。かなり笑えない大陰謀だぞ。
Now Keiichi's gonna go,
俺たちにはどうしようもない。
I'm freaking out!
警察に任す方がないぞ。
私が話したことを警察は信じてくれると思う？
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard one to pass off.
信じるかどうかは向こうが判断するだろう。とにかく話した方がいい。
This is what, again, Keiichi can't keep his mouth shut. He's like, I gotta tell everybody!
ケイチ君、それを大石さんに私が打ち明けたら、私がスクラップ帳を持っていることを告白するのと同じなんじゃないかな。
それってまずいのか？
Yeah, no, it's gonna be
大
fine.
石さんの接触はミオさんが殺された後だった。敵はミオさんを殺した時点でスクラップ帳の紛失とその数日前に私が図書館で出会っていることを知っている。
バカな。つまり
そう、大石さん自体が敵の。大石さんは私がスクラップ帳を持っている可能性があると当たりをつけていて、
Oh no, she thinks she can't
探
trust
りを入れて
Oishi.
きているのかもしれない。実際彼はうさんくさくて腹を割らない。
Yeah, he obviously didn't tell you everything he knew because you were just a person he was questioning.
園崎家を疑わせるようなことを言って自分は味方だと言ってくるけど、彼だってその園崎家の手先かもしれない。
See, now she's not gonna trust anybody but Keiichi, and then she's probably not even gonna trust us.
警察を疑い出したらおしまいだぞ。
Or Obi-Wan.
ケイチ君、4年目の撲殺事件を知ってるよね。サトコちゃんのおばさんが殺された事件。あれは犯人はサトシ君以外に考えられないんだけど、その後犯人は麻薬中毒者だったということになった。
That's right! There was a random drug addict that they're like, I think he did it! And he's like, bruh, I was just smoking weed. And they're like, oh, he definitely did it. Weed makes you violent.
これをどう思う？
警察内部に狂信的な連中の手先が混じっていて犯人を捏造したってことか。
3年目の神主さんの病死の検視とか2年目の 北条夫妻の事故現場の見聞とか。
Rena's taking the Fire Emblem 7 commercial too seriously. Build an army, trust no one.
警察がもしも彼らの片棒を担いでいるなら数々の完全犯罪が可能になる。ひなみ沢御三家はダム戦争時から今日に至るまでもずっと警察への圧力を維持してるんだよ。それに沖宮の町のいろんなところに一族が進出して実権を握っているというのはみーちゃんから聞か
This
さ
is
れ
a
たことがあるん
long
じゃない？
scene of them just talking. Do you have any idea how expensive this phone call is going to be, Rena?
確かにそれはミオンの口からだけじゃない。いろんなやつの口から聞かされた。ミオンの園崎家がどれだけ市内全域に強力な影響力を持っているかってのをな。
そういうこと。
It is interesting that Keiichi's the only person she's telling. It could be because she likes him. It could be because they're just best friends. It could be because she's like, Keiichi's for like literally only moved here a couple months ago. He's definitely not involved with the conspiracy. So he's like the only person I can trust is not out to get me. But at the same time, I think she should also be able to trust Satoko, because Satoko is literally just like the enemy of the village just because her parents didn't like the dam or liked the dam project idea.
警察はこの土地では必ずしも信用できない。
Yes, let's make Keiichi paranoid again.
レナ
That always goes well.
先にはっきりさせたいんだが、黒幕は園崎家なのか、ミオンも関係があるってのか。
Uh-oh.
それだけは先に聞かせてくれ。
御三家であるみーちゃんやリカちゃんが 関係しているかはわからない。
Rika did have a mysterious drug that she tried to inject Shion with. I don't know if it was like a knockout drug or what, but
ただ狂信的な勢力が御三家や一番の有力家である園崎家を自由に動かせる中枢部に根付いているのは間違いない。狂信的な勢力が根付いたのか、御三家の中枢が狂信的なのかは分かりかねるけどね。
関係あるかどうかわからない以上、用心に越したことはないってわけだな。
うん、みーちゃんたちのことを疑うわけじゃないよ。普段のみーちゃんは頼もしいし、私も他の心配事なら打ち明けて助力を求めること
but
もあ
not
ると
this
思う。
time.
ただ今回のことはちょっと話の次元が違う。圭一君は見たことあるかな。みーちゃんは普段はふざけているけど、その崎家の
True.
次期当主として
Even when
振
she
る舞
was
う
like
時は
10.
ものすごく冷酷で別人みたいに振る舞えるの。それにもし無関係だったとしても、それならばやはり耳に入れることで危険に巻き込むことにもなるんじゃないかな。
Trust the moon or yourself or trust her. You need to trust something. That's my point, Mr. Mushroom from Hollow Knight. I don't remember that quote.
ミオンたちが味方になってくれればかなり頼もしいぞ。俺は打ち明ける価値があると思う。
だからそれはダメ。敵ではないと確認が取れるまでそれは避けるべきだよ。味方にできれば確かに心強いけど、そうでなかった時はどうするつもり？
じゃあ俺とレナだけでどう戦うつもりなんだよ。
もともと最初から絶望的な戦いなんだよ。だから圭一君を巻き込みたくなかった。
くそ、高野さんめ、とんでもない置き土産を残してくれたな。
Yeah.
でもそのおかげでとてつもない陰謀を知ることができたんだよ。これはミオさんの遺言なんだよ、きっと。
Darn, it's the same music both times. The music was good at first, but I'm getting kind of tired of it.
村を影から牛耳る何者かに、その村に住まうガキンチョ2人が挑むわけだ。こいつは最高にハードな話だぜ。
Edgeworth's face tougher.
一筋縄じゃいかねえぞ。
でも圭一君が味方でよかったよ。
He's got a bat.
二人だから話し合えて相談できる。
Between your hatchet, Rena, and Satoshi's baseball bat that Keiichi borrows, we can kill anybody, unless they have a gun.
当たり前だろ。俺は最初からずっとレナの味方で仲間だぞ。
ありがとう。二人なら心強いよ。
一人で悩むよりは建設的になれるだろうしな。
そうだね。二人でどう戦えばいいか、これからじっくり相談していこう。今日は私スクラップ帳を読み直す時間が欲しかったから休んだから明日からは普段通りに生活するね。
Will she have reptile eyes or not?
おかしな行動をすれば気取られてしまうかもしれないからね。圭一君も変に構えないで普段通りに生活してね。みーちゃんとか 時折鋭いことがあるから特に気をつけて。
Oh, don't worry. Keiichi's very good at acting normal when he's under stress and can't trust anybody.
わかった。何事もなかったかのように生活するよ。だが畜生はなんだか怖いぜ。とんでもない陰謀が間近に迫ってて、それがもうカウントダウンに入ってるかもしれないってんだぜ。それを知りつつ普段通りに生活しろってのも辛い話だよな。
Why do you keep saying the word Dandori? That's giving me Pikmin 4 flashbacks.
多分そんなにすぐじゃないはずなの。さっきも言った通り、彼らが狂信的であればあるほど宗教的なセレモニーを必要とするはず。そういうセレモニーは村を挙げて行うものだもの。綿流し以上のイベントは今のひなみ沢には存在しない。
ということは少なくとも来年の綿流しまでは大丈夫ということか。
根拠のない読みだけどね。他に綿流し以上のイベントが思いつかない。
I think we have a year at least. But I also feel like we don't, because of how they killed Mio-san. I might not know, but there might be a bigger religious event than with Higurashi. Huh. It might not be that long until that day. On the day of Oyashiro-sama's revival, they're going to spread a dangerous parasite, and that day might be just around the corner.
レイナ、まだ電話してるのか?
Do you have any idea how much money I have to pay per minute of phone calls? Good lord.
そろそろ終わりにしなさい。
My father stuck his head out from the living room, telling me I need to hang up soon. I thought about telling him so many times. It's natural to think that your parents will be on your side no matter what. But I know how weak he can get, so I just couldn't tell him. I don't think he'd believe me anyway. Even if I told him, he'd just call me the police. It's better that I don't tell him. They might get close to my father to get me. If he didn't know anything about anything, including the scrapbooks, there'd be nothing to squeeze out of him to begin with. I guess.
ごめんね、ケイチ君。今夜はもう遅いからこれで切るね。また明日学校。
おう、また明日。
用心してね。ケイチ君ももう部外者じゃないんだから。
おう、せいぜい気をつけるぜ。
I remembered the suspicious men in the white van and felt a chill run through my spine. They looked like villagers, but they weren't. They had the village accent, but they were just pretending. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious they became. It let me know that Rena and I aren't safe. If Rena is right, they're just suspicious of her, and they're not sure if she has the scrapbooks or not. But it's still creepy! Rena had probably experienced the same creepiness I felt when I saw the white van several times up until now. She must sense the danger more than I do. However, the fact that they weren't attacking, that they were merely observing us, was disturbing. Kinda weird that we've just forgotten about that Rena has killed both Rina and Tepe. I thought that was going to be the main storyline, but no, that's like, oh yeah, that was just a little thing that happened. If they attacked her, she could have done something, like going to the police. But all they're doing is just watching her from a distance. She can't do anything about it. She can't talk to anybody about it. She probably just wants to stay in her house all day. But if she acted different, they might take that as proof that she has the scrapbooks. We have to think about how to fight against them, without making it obvious. I told myself there would be no going back, and I put the phone down. That was an almost hour-long phone call, Keiichi. What gives? Dawn of a new day. The next day, Rena came to school, acting normal like she said she would. Yay! She talked with Mio as cheerfully as she always did, and it made me wonder if the story she told me last night was a complete fabrication. That's because the story really was too ridiculously crazy to believe. You guys haven't been, like, plotting against me, right? I know, Mio, you're crazy! This village has a very weird and rare endemic disease. And there are religious fanatics who want to use the disease to revive their weird cult. See, this is all he can think about. He's absolutely going to be I wasn't thinking about endemic diseases! It's like, oh god, Keiichi, you had one job! And they've been researching the pathogen of the endemic disease so they can spread it throughout the village. I was deeply influenced by Rena last night, and I believed everything she said. But thinking about it, with a cool mind under the bright sunlight, it sounds too crazy to be true. The story Rena told me is based on Takano-san's crazy hand-me-down ideas. It's based entirely on her theories, which, though very feasible, have no evidence whatsoever. The fact that Takano-san was murdered lends credit to the story, I'll give you that, but... I looked at Mion. She was fooling around with Rena. It's hard to believe that she's involved with some crazy conspiracy. No, it's not.
っていうか聞いてないでしょケイちゃん。
No, we weren't. See, that's the problem.
悪い。ごめん、聞いてなかった。
Suspicious.
まだ寝ぼけたまんまなのかな。寝不足だとおつむもちゃんと働かないよ。
But also, if you get too much sleep, your brain stops working too. You could tell Keiichi that a banana is the god of Ueshiba-sama, and Keiichi would believe it. If you call him late at night and like be like, hey, there's some creepy guys in the van, that they know that Ueshiba-sama is really a banana, and I had to split. And he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Do we tell Mion? No, she can't know that it's a banana. So just play it cool. Oh, Keiichi, what a goober. Mion made fun of me for reacting too slowly. She's not the only one who made fun of you. It's also impossible to not trust this bubbly, cheerful girl. I trust Mion. I trust my friends. I know she'd never have a hand in a crazy conspiracy theory like that. He's going to tell her. If she knew about it, she wouldn't be able to act this cheerfully. You're such a dork. Rena told me not to tell Mion because she might be one of them. But it might be worth telling her without letting Rena know. This is why you cannot trust Keiichi with any secrets. Oh my gosh, he's the worst. Of course, there's at least a 1% chance that the conspiracy is true, that Mion is one of them. If so, I'd be doomed. But if I had to choose between believing the crazy conspiracy theory and trusting my friends, my answer would be obvious. I know that my friend Mion isn't part of any conspiracy. She'd never be involved with something like that. Where was this Keiichi in Chapter 1? It's kind of weird that in the other chapters, Keiichi's like, my friends are everything. I trust them with everything, even when I see that they're literally torturing and murdering people before my eyes. They're not. Those aren't my friends. They're demons. My friends would never do this. And then in Chapter 1, he's like, my friends are evil. It's very weird. Even if the conspiracy exists, I'm sure Mion will be on our side. Oh my gosh! Is he not even going to make it 12 hours? So whether it's true or not, it must be worth telling Mion about it. He's not even going to make it 12 hours.
Nani, Kei-chan?
Dude, you've got to be kidding me! Lunch break, he's like, Mion, I gotta talk. You've got to be kidding me. Oh no. Also, this could be Shion. If this is actually Shion, we're screwed. You don't tell Shion anything. Mion is definitely not in this theory cult, whatever the heck it is. Mion's just a girl with a tiger grandma and a crazy sister. She does have a tiger grandma, and she does have a crazy sister. She's probably more involved than you'd think, but what do I know?
こんなところに呼び出して。
Keiichi.
それも誰にも内緒で来いなんてさ。
Oh dear God.
まさかカツアゲとかそういうのじゃないよね。
Keiichi, Rena trusted you. This is why Rena's gonna turn against everyone. She's gonna be Keiichi. I can't trust him. He's with the enemy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have told. You are so dumb.
お前な、体育倉庫の裏に呼ばれたら、真っ先にそう思う
It's
んだ
time for her
よ。
regular drug payment.
じゃあラブレターとか。
Bro, if Keiichi kissed her right now, how would she react?
でもそういうのは下駄箱が定番じゃない？
都会じゃそうでもないぞ。直接渡す白兵線型も少なくない。
She blushed already.
じゃあ
Oh, she is so down bad.
なわけねえだろ。
She is so down bad.
それよりかなり真面目な話がある。茶化しは一切なしで聞いてくれ。
何よ。どうしたの？
Mion, the truth is, I'm in love with Stacy's mom. Who the heck is Stacy?
を復活させようとしている連中がいる。ってのは知ってるか？
は？
What?
何、ケイちゃん。何の話？
This, of course, was just my way of getting a feel for the situation. Isn't this like when Keiichi yelled at her in Chapter 1? Well, he had every right to yell at her in Chapter 1 when she... Well, actually, I guess she wasn't the one who's trying to break into his house. She did send him a lunch with a needle in it, though. So, I mean... No, I think she kind of had it coming. I wanted to see how she was going to react by getting straight to the point. But Mion really did look puzzled. People wouldn't normally react like this if someone pointed out their secrets out of the blue. They always panic, if only just a little. Either Mion was a brilliant actress, or she really didn't have anything to do with the idea of reviving Oyashiro-sama. I decided to tell her everything.
Mion.
Keiichi, I will never trust you with, like, literally anything.
お前の家の園崎家って、ひなみ沢を含め、 ものすごい影響力を持ってるわけだけどさ、お社様信仰を復興するため何か暗躍してるってことは。
Mion's face! What is he on? What drug did he take last night? Are you asking me this?
こうなんで？
いや、だからさ、今のお社様信仰って大昔の時代に比べたらだいぶ信仰心が薄くなってるだろ。それをさ、大昔の鬼ヶ淵村のレベルまで引き戻したいと思っている、いわゆる原理主義者的な連中が暗躍をしてるんじゃないかって。
Okay, I guarantee you Rena is going to be eavesdropping on this conversation or like overhear part of it. This is that's either going to lead to a very intense scene where she like confronts us right here, or we're not going to know about it and we're just going to get some internal monologue where she feels betrayed. I guarantee it.
はい、ちょっと何の話なわけ？
本当に何の話かわからないのか？
わかるわけないよ。何その全米第1位みたいな面白ストーリーはさ。
Mion's reaction was very natural. It seemed impossible that she was pretending she didn't know anything about it. But regardless, I continued.
いや、だからそういう連中がこの村にいるらしいんだよ。ミオンは知らないか？
お社様信仰を鬼ヶ淵村の時代のレベルに？そんなことして何かいいことあるの？
いや、そりゃ信仰の厚い狂信的な連中にとってはとても重要な意味があるんじゃないかな。
だってケイちゃん、大昔の厳しい戒律の頃に逆戻りって誰も喜ばないよ。
The people in charge.
今のこの現代、村から出るななんて言われたら生活なんかやってられないって。
例えばほら、リカちゃん。
They're gonna build a wall and they'll make Okinomiya pay for it.
リカちゃんって何でもお社様の生まれ変わりとか言ってちやほやされてるらし
And
い。
then they get flooded under the dam.
そういった取り巻きの老人たちの中にはきっと。
リカちゃんの取り巻きっていうと君吉のおじい
Look,
ちゃ
he's
ん
a
とか
fanatic, but he's not that religious.
まあ確かに信仰
Oh,
心は
I'm sorry,
厚い
no,
方
no, no,
だ
the
と
other way
思う
around.
けど、狂信的ってのはどうかと思うね。
いや、だから本来のお社様信仰を再び復活させようとしているや
And
な。
now Keiichi's yelling for the whole school to hear.
はいはい、話が進まないからこの場は信じるよ。それで
で、そいつらはお社様の正体がこの土地独特の風土病にあることに
Bro,
突き止め、
this guy
その病原
sucks.
体を研究しているらしいんだ。
Oh, I'm sorry. I know she told me not to tell anybody, but like literally the first possible opportunity, I'm gonna tell the one person she told me that definitely don't tell. Ah! He's insufferable.
どこで？というか風土病って何？
Mion was not paying attention in biology class. He was like, well, what the heck does that even mean?
病原体って何よ？縁が長。
I was getting confused. I didn't know what I was talking about myself anymore. I was deeply influenced by Rena last night, and I believed everything she said. Do not tell her! He's like, oh, I'm just repeating what Rena told me from her secret notebooks that Takano gave her. But having said it all out loud, I started realizing how impossible the story sounded.
どうしたの？ミオさんに妙なことでも吹き込まれたわけ？
Yeah.
知ってるのか？
有名だよ。あの人オカルトマニアだからいつもとんでもない空想話。
What if Takano's just the ultimate troll? Wait, what if she's literally just the ultimate troll where she just like likes saying these crazy stories to get people's reaction? And like she didn't actually kill her boyfriend, she was just acting incredibly suspiciously for Keiichi just to freak him out. And then she faked her death for the lols. That would actually be kind of funny.
たまに真に受ける人がいるとかなりヘビーに吹き込むっ
Like
て有名なん
it
だよ。
wouldn't be good writing from a mystery standpoint, but it would be funny.
私も昔話を聞かせてもらったことがあったけど、
それって本当か？
ケイちゃんもどこかで耳にしてるだろうけど、この村は大昔はちょっと特殊な文化があった。
Very unique.
それは少し刺激の強い要素のある文化でね。厳しい戒律と厳しい刑罰、残酷な風習は割とミオさんもそんなマニアの中の一人。
じゃあこの村が怪しげな寄生虫に支配されているという話は？
はあ？寄生虫？それミオさんの新作？
That you just spoiled her secret files!
新作ってどういうこと
You're
だよ
supposed to have to beat the Kingdom Hearts bonus bosses to get the secret report.
言ったでしょ。ミオさんはオカルトマニアなの。鬼ヶ淵村の奇怪な伝説などを研究して
She's just
あ
eating
れやこれ
mining.
やの仮説や推理妄想を楽しんでるわけよ。だからその寄生虫に村が支配されてるって説以
Oh,
外
bro,
にも
you
いろい
know-
ろ創作してる。
You know what would be a really cool detail that if I was raised, I definitely would include? If Rena is like overhearing this, just like very, very subtly show her like peering through this window, like in the shed behind Mion. Like very, very subtle. Like you have to really look hard in order to notice it, but that would be such a cool detail. And also really creepy.
私がずいぶん前に聞いたのは UFO 説だったよ。これが結構辻褄があってて面白いの。
Involving UFOs? Wow. I thought we had enough about the alien talk.
太古の昔に鬼ヶ淵村に UFO が墜落してそこから出てきた異星人と村人で戦いが起こってという感じから始まる B 級 SF ホラーだった。
Okay, maybe Takano is just a troll. Maybe she's literally just like the story changes every time I tell it. And she keeps making new like notebooks. Like I think okay, Rena has this weird thing involving schizophrenia. I'm gonna give her the schizophrenia notes. Oh, this guy is obsessed with aliens. I'm gonna give him the alien notebooks. Chapter 1, Rena eavesdropping. Okay, the CG in Chapter 1 of Rena overhearing our phone conversation is the most frightening CG in the game, in the series up to this point. At least for me. That one creeped me out.
サトコが聞かされたってのは地底人説だったかな。地殻変動によって地底王国と鬼ヶ淵村の間に接点ができてしまってそれでなんだっけかな。そうそう地底王国のお姫様と村の若者が恋をして互いに仲直りをしたっていう SF ロミオとジュリエットだった。
Proxima, you're just having a grand old time knowing all of the twists and just watching us theorize and be like, what the heck? I hope so.
んで最新作がどうやらケイちゃんの聞かされた
Okay, so
寄生
Takano's
虫
just
説っ
crazy.
てわけみたいだね。
Don't trust her.
いやいやいつかそれらを全部まとめて本にしてほしいよ。
I mean, I haven't trusted her since Chapter 2, but still. Mion began laughing so hard that she had to hold her stomach. As it looked like her laughing like that, I realized I fell for something ridiculous. At that point, it was obvious. I had been completely taken in.
すまんミオ俺がこれから聞くことに答えてくれ
Don't sell Rena out. Also, this song again?
お社様信仰を復活させようとする連中は実在する
しないよ。というかむしろ逆。ひなみ沢は外部に対してどんどん開いていって栄えさせていく
Yeah,
ということで
Keiichi. How would you
御三家は
have moved here if they hated outsiders?
これはまだ内緒なんだけど21世紀までをめどにね。園崎家は現在水面下でその誘致をしててね。うまくいけばここいらは一気に栄えることになる。
Yeah, it's gonna get a lot of tourists because they're here to check out the village that was featured in Higurashi when they cry.
バッチャはそれによって山林の地価が一気に高騰して大儲けできると
Oh,
踏んでるみたい。
Grandma's all about that cash money.
まあ21世紀の仕事だからそれは私が引き継ぐ大仕事になりそうだ。
Yeah, I don't think Grandma has 2 decades left in her, so.
じゃあ外部の人間を意味嫌う連中なんてのは存在しない。
だからそんなの存在しないって。
Bruh,
ただでさえ不便な村をさらに不便にしてどうするんだか。
Mion, I'm pretty sure your grandma's doesn't really like outsiders. Like, she gives off that vibe.
現に村は今別荘地として売り出しを開始してる。ケイちゃんの家はまさにその第1号じゃないの。
Yeah! Way to go!
村人はみんな歓迎してくれたでしょ。若者の流出を食い止めるため御三家もいろいろと考えてるんだから。
That's probably just gonna become Japan pretty soon, given I think the like average age of someone in Japan is like 55, because there's just so many elderly people and very few young people. There was nothing vague about what Mion had said. Her story makes a lot more sense than Takano-san's delusional theories. And so, Mion's words woke me up from that delusion.
じゃああれはどうだよ。寄生虫の感染の症状として血液中のなんとかとかいう数値が南沢の住民だけ非常に高いみたいな話が。
そうなの？というかミオさんはそんなの
Takano is definitely illegally taking blood tests and being like, alright, I've gotta check out these levels for my own personal research.
だって高野さんは看護師だろ。
そんな怪しげな調査のために誰が血液採取なんかに協力するの？誰もしないって。それに仮に採血をしたってどこでどう調べたわけ？ミオさんがたった一人で一体何人の血を調べられたって
？All of them! There's only like 30 people living in Hinamizawa. Mion was right. I couldn't believe I thought Takano-san would do all of that just because she was a nurse. It struck me hard to believe that she got that many blood samples and did a high-level examination like that without any help. When I thought about it rationally, I shouldn't have believed such a ridiculous story so easily.
寄生虫の寄生の証拠として花粉症にかからないって聞いたぞ。
Okay, I know I'm laughing at Keiichi. This would 100% be me if I had to explain all the plot points. Like, watch me try to summarize last stream, like this stream next stream, and I'll probably do an even worse job.
花粉症って都会の病気じゃないの。あれは確か排気ガスと関係があるんでしょ？
Hey, that's not true.
ここはひなみ沢だよ。というか多分沖宮の人にだって花粉症なんてそうそういないと思うけど。
じゃああれは
This Phoenix Wright floundering trying to find the right evidence be like
園崎本家当主直属の暗殺部隊ってのがいて
Oh!
大臣の孫の誘拐とかをやったんだろう。
Okay, this is gonna get a reaction out of her, surely. That is not the reaction I thought it was gonna get out of her.
そんなのがいたらかっこいいね。
Oh man. Oh man, surely, yeah, imagine if one of the tips for this next section is literally just this scene, but from Mion's perspective, where she's like, what is he talking about? Even I was sounding ridiculous. But I believed all of it last night. I believed it because Rena looked very serious. How do you know what she looked like? You were on the phone!
大臣の孫が高津戸のあたりで突然発見されたのは事実。だけれど、あれは私たちじゃない。
Yes, you did!
私たちじゃないけど、それを私たちはさも自分たちが犯したように振る舞ってた。
No, you told Shion that you did, but like that was the only thing you did. You didn't actually kill people in like the Watanagashi stuff.
わかりにくいぞ。説明してくれ。
うん。ダム戦争の当時、鬼ヶ淵死守同盟は
Very
相当に
violently.
物騒な抵抗運動をしていたのは事実。脅迫めいたこともやってのけた。
I believed it because it was nighttime. Yeah, literally.
でもね、あの当時それを利用するやらしい連中もいたらしいの。鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の名を語って金品を要求したりするエセ同盟って連中。
The Onigafuchi Guardians were a very aggressive force at that time. There's a high possibility that some people thought they could use the name to extort money.
その中に大臣の孫の誘拐もあったの。おそらく誘拐犯たちは警察の捜査の撹乱を狙って死守同盟のふりをして身代金を要求したんだと思う。正直あの事件は同盟にとっても驚きだったよ。
Yeah, no, they weren't.
よく大臣の孫を誘拐できたもんだって話題になったね。犯人たちに会えたら表彰してやろうなんて盛り上がったっけ。
Yeah, Mion is literally just lying her ass off right now.
ちょっと待て。じゃあ大臣の孫の誘拐は鬼ヶ淵死守同盟は何も関係ない。
うん、全くない。
Mion said it firmly. It was a simple and clear answer, which left no room for suspicion. And thinking about it, it's nothing surprising. Kidnapping the grandson of a minister and negotiating with him in person is a huge deal. The Onigafuchi Guardians were a very aggressive group, but this operation wasn't so easy that it could be carried out by any of the normal residents of Hinamizawa. Jeez, that's a break is longer today because I'm battling curry indigestion. That's how they get so much time. Are you kidding me? There's no way she has curry indigestion. She's eaten it so much, she's immune. It was obviously the work of professional criminals, without a doubt.
ただね、さっき
Oh,
も少し言いかけたけど、
serious Mion.
園崎本家はね、この誘拐事件を自分たちが黒幕であるかのように振る舞っていた。
振る舞ったってのはどういうことだ。
これは園崎本家の秘密の家訓なの。
No, this is the creepy smile Shion made when we were confronting her at the end of chapter 2.
ケイちゃんにはこっそり話すけど、話したことは内緒だよ。園崎本家ではね、自分たちに都合がいい何かの事件が起こった。
This is Ace Attorney. It's about
あたか
bluffing.
もそれが自分たちの差し金であるように振る舞うブラフの伝統があるの。
ブラフってハったり。
うん。自分たちに利することがあったなら、それは事件でなくてもいい。お天気でもいいし、宝くじの当選番号でもいい。 あたかも園崎本家が望んだからそのような結果になったかのように振る舞うの。そうするとどう？なんだかものすごい黒幕ってイメージになるでしょ。つまりはそういうこと。これは園崎本家の当主だけに代々公伝で伝承される秘密のイメージ戦略なの。自分たちを本来よりもより強大に見せようとするイメージ戦略。
じゃあほら、ダム戦争時に建設省を占拠するって作戦があったんだろ。
Oh yeah, we did that.
あれはしかもそのために武器やら訓練やら。
それも全く同じだよ、ケイちゃん。そんなバカな作戦本当にやるわけないじゃん。
Mion, you didn't train to be a suicide bomber?
最大の目的はあいつらならやりかねない、なんて恐ろしいやつらだっていうプレッシャーと幻想を与えるのが最大の目的だったんだよ。
Well, Mion is lying right now. I'm not about how much stuff she's lying about. I'm not sure, but she was her family was definitely the people who at least ordered the kidnapping of the son in chapter 4.
つまりこれもまたイメージ戦略ってわけ。
They obtained weapons and went for training just so they could exact pressure. They had no intention of actually carrying out the plan. The Sonozaki family was just bluffing. That made sense. Of course it did. It's impossible to attack the Ministry of Construction. Even if they did, it wouldn't solve the problem. All I had to do was use common sense. No. Even if they did, they would have been crushed within seconds by the huge number of policemen. Why didn't I think of that?
じゃあ武器とか訓練とかってのは。
武器に関してはノーコメントでいいよね。
No comment.
訓練もやったよ。はったりになるようちゃんとしっかりね。葛西さんをリーダーにお父さんとこの若い衆たちを引き連れてテキサスの砂漠でトレーナーさんと戦争ごっこをやった後はサンフランシスコでのんびり観光
Did
し
you
て
get some good barbecue? I'll take that as a yes.
じゃあ
I couldn't think of anything else. It was obvious now. No, Rena and I both were completely fooled by the scrapbooks of Takano-san's delusion. Rena was so serious about it, so I believed her. But if you examined it closely, there were so many inconsistencies. I couldn't believe Rena took a delusion like that so seriously. You did too, so just shut up. I knew the reason why, though. She was still in a state of shock after being caught with the corpses that day. She was mentally unstable. Oh, now we're finally remembering a double homicide took place that the police have not even started investigating. Then she came across this tall tale, and she believed it. Rena is a smart girl. She wouldn't have taken it seriously if she was stable. Plus, another thing happened to wake me up from the delusion. The white van I saw yesterday came to school during the lunch break. The 4 men in work uniforms I saw were there too. I said thank you to Mion and followed them. The man who talked to me yesterday knocked on the door of the teacher's office. Uh-oh.
毎度おこのぎ造園でございますんで。
Are they actually, though?
どうもご苦労様です。今日も暑いですね。
いいえいえ。先生は今日もますますべっぴんで。
I mean, he's got good taste.
ではすみません。今日もよろしくお願いいたします。
はい。よろしくお願いします。これうちの事務屋から渡すように言われましたんで。
見積書と請求書ですね。ありがとうございます。日付は空欄ですね。はい、お預かりします。
You kind of need a quote before you start the work.
はい。それでは取り掛かりますんで。
The man was talking to Chia-sensei with a big smile.
どうしたのかね、前
Oh my gosh, guys, it's Principal! He's back!
あ、校長先生、今の男の人は誰ですか？
The principal pointed his finger at the window. When I looked out, I heard the noise of an engine starting. The noise was coming from the engine of a motorized lawnmower. I saw young men in work uniforms taking another lawnmower, some brooms, and a ladder out of the van.
園芸業者さんである。だいぶ垣根や樹木が手入れされてなかったからの。夏前に一度剪定を頼もうと思ったのだよ。
ああ、校長先生。この度はお世話になりまして。
The man noticed the principal, took off his hat, and bowed.
よろしく頼み申しますぞ。
なんとか今日中で終わらせますんで。しばらくうるさくしますんが、ご容赦を。
That's okay, it's not like people have to do anything important and quiet like study. It's just a school. Each worker took one of the tools and walked towards the fence where the grass was growing. The engine of the lawnmower was very loud, and the kids who were playing in the schoolyard looked at it curiously.
こら
Oh, no, we made Best Girl mad.
危ないですから皆さん教室へ戻りなさい
No, never mind. The kids made her mad. Never mind. It was Chia-sensei. She handed an envelope with the documents in it to the principal. It said Okonogi Gardeners in green on the envelope.
では校長先生
So what the heck was the driver who tried to run Keiichi over and went after Rena? I don't know. Maybe it's a bunch of guys who just have different white vans.
申し訳ありませんがこの請求書を後日市役所に行かれるときに持って行ってください
Don't sign an invoice if they don't have a court attached to it. Otherwise, it's going to be like, we're done. That'll be $8 million. Oh, you signed it. You got to pay it.
心得た。
千恵先生、造園屋さんは昨日も。
ええ昨日の夕方に一度下見に来てもらいました帰りに近道をしようとして迷ってしまったと言ってましたっけ
この村は細い道はだいぶ入り組んでおるからの。無理もないわい。
I remember when I first came here, Chia-sensei started talking about when she got lost and they laughed together. There was never anything suspicious to begin with. I thought they were suspicious yesterday because of what Rena had told me. At first I thought it wasn't unusual to see a white van. But then, right after I had heard her creepy story, I saw a white van parked on the road and I got scared. The gardeners weren't familiar with the roads of Hinamizawa and they got lost trying to take a shortcut on their way back. That's all. I had it totally twisted around? I believed that fake-sounding story. I believed the Sonozaki family was working behind the scenes, and I fabricated the existence of a group of fanatical believers in my mind. Maybe all the white vans are the same white van, and it keeps traveling back in time so it can reappear. You got it, Proxima. Hey, I thought I said no spoilers. Worse, I doubted Mion. Damn it! I'm such a fool. Well, yes, but also, no. She's my friend. We took each other's hands that day, saying we were a family made of friends, and that friends were friends no matter what. I said that, but then I doubted my friend. I'm so stupid. Anyway, Rena was the problem. She also needed to wake up from this crazy delusion. I had to hurry up and wake her up. Rena seemed like she had no mind to listen to anyone else. She truly believes that the Sonozaki family are the masterminds of a large-scale conspiracy. You did too, you dumb butt! Oh, creepy music. I remembered the plate number of the white van, and I also remembered their faces. Without a doubt, this was one of the vans that has been following me. So far, I've confirmed that 3 or 4 cars have been following me. Is that my imagination, or is Rena's pink font getting redder as the chapter goes on? If so, that's an amazing touch. I could especially recall this white van because it followed me around the longest of all. The people who were in the other cars must be the lookouts, and the one in the van must be tasked with direct contact, like kidnapping or assassination. The lookouts secure the surroundings, and the ones in the van attack the target. That's a common maneuver involved in both kidnapping and assassination. The scrapbook said that too. What didn't the scrapbook say? If so, I'd better watch out because it was them, not the lookouts who came to the school premises. I don't think they'll attack me while I'm in school. They're in the early stage of their covert operation now, hiding their fangs and claws until the last stage of their horrifying scheme. That's why they won't take action in the school where people are watching. But it looked like they were talking with Shia-sensei in a very friendly way. I could only hear bits and pieces of their conversation, but it sounded very suspicious. I tried to remember the chatter and the movements of their mouths, and I played my memory of it like a videotape in my mind.
Maido!
Okay, you don't swear at Best Girl.
どうもご苦労様です今日も暑いですね
いいえいいえ
That-
まあ今日
That's what he said. That's what the man said. He said that. That's what he said.
ではすみません今日もよろしくお願いいたします
はいよろしくお願いしますこれうちの事務屋から渡すように言われましたんで
とですねありがとうございますわ空欄ですねはいお預かりします
はいそれでは
Well,
boop.
I used the information I had to guess what was going on. I played the video again and again in my mind, and I also paused it and played it in slow motion again to check many times. Rena, are you a savant? Then something unbelievably horrifying started to emerge. Oh no, she's going crazy. There's no doubt that they're acquainted with Chia-sensei. But I've never seen them visit this school before, so it's hard to believe that Chia-sensei is their contact. There's no doubt that they're in the Death Squad under the direct control of the Sonozaki family. They have the local accent, which proves they were chosen from the Sonozaki Corps. The deaf squad was talking with Chia-sensei. They know each other. What's their relationship? Who's Chia-sensei anyway? During the dam conflict, Hinamizawa's school was closed and it was merged with the one in Okinomiya. But the Onikafuchi Guardians didn't accept that, and they made a part of the forestry service building into a school. But needless to say, the school they made didn't have a teacher, so it was only going to be a token form of resistance. But a teacher who had a strong passion for education felt sorry for the children, and she came to work there. That was Rumiko Chia-sensei. It was obviously strange. Teachers are government employees, and they normally belong in the prefectures. As long as they lie low and don't cause trouble, they don't get fired, and they don't get demoted. They can work up until their official retirement age, and they're guaranteed to get a fixed retirement fund. She was one of those government employees, but she defied the Board of Education and came to work with Hinamizawa. The villagers admire her as a teacher of passion. I heard that Sonozaki herself successfully negotiated with the Board of Education that suspended Chia-sensei for defying their orders. It was easy to get an answer from this by connecting the dots. Chia-sensei was recruited by Oryo Sonozaki as a teacher to work at the school the Onikafuchi Guardians had created. In other words, she was already working for Oryo before she came here! Yeah, Rena, I have to declare you are going crazy because you're seeing the world in photo negative. And you're speaking in red font. As for the principal, he was the principal of the school in Hinamizawa from the beginning. He's a respected person of this region, and he's been closely associated with the three families for a long time. So that means he's not my principal! This school has been under the control of the Sonozaki family all along! That's why Chia-sensei is acquainted with the Deaf Squad. It makes sense now. The one thing you don't like about the current game backgrounds for the school, it's supposed to look old and low maintenance, but here it looks quite modern. It's also in photo negative. Chia-sensei confirmed that I came to school today, made a phone call, and called them here. I don't want to know why she called them here. If she called them here to monitor me, they'd wait near the gate until class was over. But they came onto the school premises. Why? Stop pretending to be a fool, Ren Ryugu. Do you think nothing will happen if you pretend to not notice it? Think. Think hard. And calm down, Ren Ryugu. What will they try to do to me in school today? In school? How are they going to do anything with my classmates and friends around me? It's easy. Chia-sensei will tell me to come to the teacher's office during the last class of the day. What about my clubmates? That's easy too. Chia-sensei can easily make them go home early using her authority as a teacher. She can make up any reason she wants. Maybe the classroom is going to have carpentry work done today, so they can't stay in school. You, today. There's a problem with your video playback device in your brain, Rena. It's viewing all the covers wrong. See, there's no doubt. They clearly said they're going to do it today. And what else? Aye. よろしくお願いします。これ、うちの事務屋から渡すように言われましたんで。と、です。ありがとうございます。は空欄ですね。はい、お預かりします。I see. They get Chia-sensei an envelope with some documents in it. That blank is an eerie phrase. Was my name supposed to be in the blank? Why is it left blank? What does that mean? I told you, Ren Ryugu. Do you still think that nothing will happen if you pretend to not notice it? Stop that! So what it must mean is that it's an order from a higher up. It says to make Ren Ryugu become blank! I took a peek from the shadows and I saw the principal taking documents out from the envelope. He started reading them. He looked stern. He looked very serious. I wished I could take a peek at the documents, but I was too far away. I kept looking at him to see if he'd react at all, and then the envelope caught my eye. The envelope said, Okanogi Gardeners, and it had some numbers that looked like a phone number. Fortunately, I have good eyesight. I memorized the number. If they were a deaf squad, the gardening company must be a camouflage occupation. It probably doesn't even exist. I wanted to find out. I looked for a phone. There's only one phone, and it's in the teacher's office. Fortunately, the teachers were chatting in the hallway, looking at the gardeners. It was now or never. I made sure nobody was watching me go into the teacher's office. I rushed in and grabbed the phone on the principal's desk. I went over the phone number in my head and I dialed it up. I'm glad they have a touch-tone phone. It would have been difficult if it was a rotary dial. If somebody answered, I'd only have to ask, is this the Okanogi Gardeners? I'd wait for the answer before hanging up. It should be easy. It connected. I felt a cold chill run through my body from the bottom of my feet. Wait, don't make a quick judgment. I might have remembered the number wrong. No, I know I remembered it right. It was an easy number to remember. It was all ones. It's impossible to remember it wrong. Then did I dial it wrong? I put the phone down and started over. This time I dialed the number more slowly. The teachers might be coming back at any time. In that situation, it was risky to do anything slowly. But I needed to make absolutely sure.
お客様がおかけになった電話番号は
It's the same. There's no doubt. The company Okanogi Gardeners doesn't exist. It's just a camouflage occupation for the Sonozaki family's death squad.
番号をお確かめの上、もう一度ダイヤルしてください。お客様がおかけになった電話番号は
I was too stunned to put down the receiver. The announcement kept running over and over again. The voice was cold and creepy. I hung up the phone and rushed out of the teacher's office. I ran to the bathroom and held my head in an attempt to cool down. Calm down, Rena. Calm down, Rena Ryugu. Stay cool. Rena Ryugu. It wasn't safe here anymore. If I stayed here, I might be erased, even in the open. They'd erase me? Why? They aren't certain that I have the scrapbooks. I told Keiichi-kun where I hid the scrapbooks. Yesterday, I told him I hid them in my hideout in the garbage dump. Is Keiichi-kun in cahoots with the Sonozaki family? I felt as if my head was a pot that was cooking some dubious stew. There was only soup in my brain. I cut up clues, information, and facts like I just cut vegetables, and I threw them into the pot. Some of them were floating on the surface, and others were on the bottom of the pot. They were being cooked in a boiling soup. No, it can't be. Keiichi-kun is on my side. He's the only one who's on my side. He held out his hand to me at the trash piles. There was no lie in that hand. When he grabbed my wrist, I felt nothing but his strong and pure heart. He promised me he'd be on my side. I shouldn't doubt Keiichi-kun. He's the only one I should trust. He's the only one who's on my side right now.
ごめん、ケイチ君。危うく君を疑いそうになった。本当にごめんね。本当にごめんね。
I said it out loud on purpose, full of regret that I doubted Keiichi-kun, the only one who is on my side. Yeah, about that! Now that I think about it, whether I have the scrapbooks or not might not matter to them. Erase anyone who is suspicious. That's the safest way. Does that mean they're in a hurry? The day of Oyashiro-sama's revival might be just around the corner. And that's why they're trying to get rid of any small fish bones that are stuck in the throat, by any means, before it's too late. We don't need her anymore. Just erase her if you're worried so much. I could easily picture Oryo Sonozaki saying that. Picture? No, she did say that! That's why they're here today. What should I do? What should I do? Should I wait until school is over? I was like a fish in a pond. No matter how many times I escaped from the net, I was in the pond. And they owned the pond! I didn't stand a chance! Then what should I do now? I couldn't keep escaping from the net. I should get out of the pond. I didn't know how to fight them. I didn't know who was on my side. I was about to give in to despair. For now, I'd have to think about how to survive this, so I'd at least have time to think about how to fight against them. I have to get out of this pond. When I was about to leave the bathroom, one of my classmates came in. I pretended to be sick and talked to the girl while leaning on the wall.
ごめんね。私、ちょっとどうしても具合が悪くて。早退するからって先生に伝えておいてくれないかな。
I shouldn't let Shu-sensei know that I'm leaving school early if I'm trying to run away from them. But if I didn't, they might think I ran away without cause. That might lead them to chase after me without mercy. If that happens, I don't stand a chance. They were planning to capture me after school is over, but I happened to feel sick and left school early. If they took it that way, they wouldn't think I was noticing the noose tightening around me. I was about to go back to the classroom to get my bag, but I changed my mind and turned around. I didn't need my bag anymore. I realized nobody was watching me, so I stopped pretending to be sick and started running. Ooh. She is turning into Chapter 1 Keiichi. Uh-oh.
千恵先生、ここがおかしいですぞ。
おかしい？どうかなさいましたか？
見積書と請求書の日付が空欄になっておりますぞ。
Yeah, you can't sign off on that.
ここは今日の日付ではないのですかな？
ああ、そこはお役所の都合らしいんです。見積書の日付と請求書の日付が同じだとなんだか都合が悪いそうで、庶務係さんから空欄にするようよく念を。
Oh wait, is it just the dates that were left blank and not the actual quote and invoice? If so, that makes more sense.
あとそれから請求書に書いてある。
It's gonna be, oh, they made a typo.
どちらが正しいのですかな？
あらやだ、本当ですね。社長さん。
はい、どうしましたんね。
請求書に書いてある電話番号と 封筒の電話番号が違ってますけど、どちらが正しいのですか？
ああ請求書の方の電話番号が正しいんで大丈夫。先代の事務所の時の封筒がまだだいぶ余ってたもんなんで、すんませんね。バイトの子に全部新しい番号のハンコを押しとくように言ったんだけどな。
In an alternate timeline, she didn't forget, and Rena's just normal.
すんまへんすんまへん。消しておいてもらえますかね。
But yeah, the misunderstanding point of view is pretty funny. Even if it's leading to some dark stuff. Hey, girl. Higurashi when they cry. I won't cry when I see you. Tips unlocked. Lunch takeout list number 3. This better have something to do with lunch takeout lists and not more mental illness stuff. Fish in a pond. Make the decision to run. With a lawnmower as its achievement picture. All right. What do we got here? The danger of a culture-bound syndrome lies in the fact that it can easily trigger delusional misidentification syndrome. That is to say, in the current case, every time the patient sees something trivial, she tries to interpret it as a curse. And it's believed that as a result of the accumulation of these events in an understandable form, a delusional system is created, ultimately leading to paranoia. Furthermore, the patient is also exhibiting slight signs of a personality disorder. Only slight? Of course, it's at a very mild level, and it's not causing any hindrance whatsoever to the patient's daily life. It's common for even healthy individuals to have primary delusions in their daily lives, but they usually ignore it automatically without recognition, since those delusions are nonsensical. However, there are cases where those delusions accumulate despite being incomprehensible. I'm getting fried rice with shrimp and... oh no, it's not takeout. I don't know. It largely depends on the particular characteristics of the individual, and it's believed that the patient shows relatively strong characteristics in this area. I believe you're very much aware that the primary delusions are categorized into 3 different kinds. Delusional mood is the feeling of impending crisis without basis. Delusional intuition is the feeling of a sense of duty or goal without basis. Delusional perception is the feeling of a baseless cause against a baseless target. In the patient's case, it's believed that these incomprehensible delusions accumulated, acted out simultaneously with the culture-bound syndrome, which triggered a delusional misidentification syndrome. And it ultimately caused the incomprehensible delusions to become understandable by interpreting them as a curse. The comprehensible delusion system induces understandable secondary delusions, further strengthening the patient's delusional system with the passage of time. The delusional parasitosis mentioned earlier can be considered a secondary delusion. A common factor of all cases of paranoia is that even after an outbreak, they still appear perfectly normal with no change in their personalities. The patients are unaware of their own ailments, and due to their personal interpretations of their delusional system, there are many cases where patients arm themselves logically, making it extremely difficult for a third party to point out that they're having a delusion. Furthermore, although it may depend on the tendency of the delusions, there are also cases where a persecutory delusion turns into a pursuit delusion or a conspiracy delusion, resulting in the patient creating an imaginary enemy and taking up antisocial behavior. This sounds like a couple people. For example, there are cases where believers of a religious cult were deeply influenced by the cult founder's paranoid visions, which shifted the group into a conspiracy delusion, and that made them conduct antisocial behavior in the name of self-defense. Although no such cases have been reported in Japan yet, it could very well happen in the near future. Fortunately, the patient hasn't reached that serious condition as of now. With proper treatment, she should be able to make a full recovery. Please make sure that her father also understands that this is not an unusual case, but something caused by the accumulation of a number of innocent factors that anyone could have. The patient can be treated only by deepening her bond with her father. As long as she has that bond, she can certainly be treated. For the reasons above, if the patient is to return to her home village, I strongly recommend that the patient continue to receive guidance from specialized medical institutions. Please excuse me for writing such a long letter. Thank you for reading this until the very end. You're welcome, Ryukushi. Whoever wrote the lunch takeout list, on point in describing Rena and Keiichi in Chapter 1. There we go. Let's continue. They were mowing the grass near the fence, which was probably a cover to monitor the surroundings, just in case I tried to escape from the school. But they must have been thinking that would happen only after school was over. They seemed to have no idea that I'd already noticed their plan and was trying to run away right at that very moment. I couldn't use the front gate, since they'd find me easily. I moved behind the school building, made sure nobody was around the Curry Garden. Sorry. Oh man, the teacher has a curry garden? Ran through it and dashed into the forest. I walked through the dense undergrowth, stepping on dead wood and climbing over fallen trees. After walking through the forest for a while, I came to a small road. I know many back roads in this village because of the club activities, and that knowledge had finally come in handy. So what should I do now? I'm sure the girl already passed on my message to Chia-sensei. Those men must be going crazy by now, knowing that I ran away. Is she gonna go to the car? She's like, oh, heck no, Rena did not ditch school again. She is so behind on her geography homework. Everybody in the class looked at each other and shook their heads. Chia-sensei looked a bit upset that Rena left school early without telling her in person.
でもレナさん、最近はいつも体調悪そうでございましたものね。みー。
レナ、カバンなんかも置きっぱなしだし。
Look, she sometimes you gotta go, you know?
どうしちゃったんだろ
う。なんだか嫌な予感がするぜ。
え？
I think I know what's going on. Uh-oh. Is this where we're gonna tell Mio about Rena's delusions? I'm not sure, but I have a very bad feeling about this. She must have taken another ridiculous story seriously or something. I hope she won't do anything crazy. She's already committed double homicide! I hurried home. My father might be at his new job, or he might have gone shopping. He wasn't around when I got there. Now that they're on the move, I'm no longer safe in my house. They're very dangerous people. They're trained to be capable of attacking the Ministry of Construction, and they actually pulled off the kidnapping of the grandson of the minister. Locked doors and windows don't mean anything to them. In fact, it'd be like I was hiding in a box, which they could just open up to get at me. I can no longer stay at my home. It's very sad and very frustrating. I killed Rina and Tepe and finally regained a peaceful life with my father. How could this happen to me? I remembered what Keiichi-kun told me before. It expressed my feelings better than anything.
高野さんめ、とんでもない置き土産を。
Why did she give me those terrifying scrapbooks? Why did she tell me the secrets of that unthinkable conspiracy? She got me into this. I didn't do anything. It's all Mio-san's fault. But who was interested in her stories? I was. Who let her continue talking? I did. I did that out of curiosity. Who let the memories of Ibaraki return and told Mio-san about them? I did. I depended on Mio-san, hoping that she could somehow save me from the memories I'd been trying to forget. I shouldn't have remembered anything about that bizarre incident. If I hadn't, I wouldn't have gotten involved in the unthinkable conspiracy, and I could have just played around with my friends today. Rena spiraling in her text is getting redder. Yep. Man, this chapter is so well done. But even if I didn't know about the conspiracy, it had still continued behind the scenes. I would have been the one member of the mob running in a panic, not knowing what's going on the day of Oyashiro-sama's revival. I would have just been swallowed up in the conspiracy anyway. Would I be happier if I faced that day without knowing anything? Would I be happier if I struggled, knowing about it but ending up swallowed by it? If I'm going to end up the same way no matter what I choose to do, I'll fight. I'll choose to fight. Because that's how I seized my happiness before. When Rina invaded my home, seducing my father, I felt like it was the end of the world. I lived on the verge of despair every day. I thought that was the worst misfortune that could befall anyone. But the way things are going, it wasn't really that bad at all. I had only 2 enemies, Rina Mamiya and Tepe Hojo. Ah, you killed us! It's so rude! I knew my enemies, and I knew how many there were. I lured them out one by one, and I attacked them in the dark. It was an easy problem to solve. But what about this one? I don't know who my enemies are, and I don't know how many or how strong they are. Even the people I once trusted might be my enemies. I can't possibly be sure. It's totally different from the previous problem. Oh boy. This might be the end of the world. This time it really was the worst thing that could possibly happen. But is that really the case? With Rina, I felt like it was the end of the world, but I no longer think it was that bad. So this might turn out to be an easy problem to solve in the end, and I might be able to laugh about it someday. I know that day will come. I know it for sure. So I shouldn't think about this as the end of the world. Let's fight. I can fight. I can still struggle. I'd eat grass and drink mud if I needed to. I'm going to bet on the 1% chance even though it's unbelievably small. If Mio-san didn't leave me the scrapbooks, I wouldn't even have been able to sit at the table to bet. I was lucky that I received the scrapbooks because they gave me the chance to choose my future. Rena here blaming Takano for getting herself involved in this conspiracy is just like how Keiichi blamed Uisi for the same thing in Chapter 1. Oh yeah! The parallels between Chapter 1 Keiichi and Chapter 6 Rena are massive. They're even now in the same point where they're like, I'm nowhere is safe. Keiichi because his parents weren't at home, and Rena because they, like, everybody knows where she lives and has to leave. So yeah, absolutely massive overlap here. And I get the feeling it's probably going to end in a fairly similar way. I'm also wondering if how this concludes will shed light on, like, how Chapter 1 actually concluded and what was going on there. We'll see. I really want to know the truth of Chapter 1. If I don't fight, they'll spread the terrible parasite and this village will face a great disaster. According to the legend, when the demons first came out of the swamp, people became demons right after being infected, and it happened while they were inside the village. These days, symptoms appear only when the infected people leave the village, but that only applies to the later weak parasite. The original parasite can reenact the curse of Oyashiro-sama even when the infected people are in the village. The legend of Oyashiro-sama will be reborn. Humans and demons will start killing each other, and Oyashiro-sama will come down to pacify the disaster. That's what they want. They want people to prostrate themselves before that miracle, and only the people who truly worship Oyashiro-sama will be saved. I see. I know their true intention now. They're going to reenact the legend of Oyashiro-sama. After all, the villagers always say that Rika-chan is his reincarnation. The stage is all set. Oh no, is she going to do something to Rika? Like killing her? They're going to use the parasite as the curse. So, how are they going to make it look like Oyashiro-sama came down to pacify everyone? I get it. They must have some kind of medicine. A specific cure for the parasite. When they recreated the stronger form of the parasite, they found a cure for it at the same time. They're going to use the cure to save only those people who believe in Oyashiro-sama, and as a result, the village will only have those fervent believers. They're going to make themselves the absolute rulers of Hinamizawa. Wait, I might still be underestimating them. Are they going to carry out that horrifying act of bioterrorism only inside Hinamizawa? History proves that when their goal is to control others, people desire to spread their religion across a wide area. I'm sure that they conducted research not only to bring back the primitive form of the parasite, but also to overcome its weakness, namely that it only thrives in Hinamizawa. According to Mio-san's research, the parasite doesn't like its hosts to be far away from the region. Its weakness is distance. If they could extend the distance, if they could extend the area where it could live. I wonder how far along their research is. By now, the parasite might be able to live not only in Hinamizawa, but in Okinomiya as well. Or maybe even in the city. Maybe the whole prefecture? It might even be able to cover nearby prefectures as well. This is too serious to just call it a conspiracy. It's horrifying enough, and its scale large enough to call it a revolution. The day of revival is probably not far off. I can tell by how they killed Mio-san, and by the extent of their pressure they're putting on me. They're trying to get rid of the small fish bones stuck in their throat by any means, because that day is coming ever closer. I'm the only one who can stand up against their revolution. I can't trust anybody. I think I can trust Keiichi-kun, but no one else. Michan is out of the question. I can't trust Rika-chan either. Satoko-chan and Rika-chan stick together like superglue, so I can't trust Sakako-chan either. Oh, that's why she doesn't trust her. I can't trust any adults. I can't trust anybody. No one is on my side. I have to stand up against them alone. The clock is ticking towards that day, and the ticking noise made me frustrated. How should I fight against them? What should I do? I needed time to think. I needed a place. A safe area where I could concentrate on thinking. Fortunately, I had such an area already. My hideout at the garbage dump. Nobody ever goes there, so it's safe. Even if they found out about that place, I'm familiar with its surroundings. I know escape routes and places where I can hide. But it has a big shortcoming as a hiding place. It's not hard to imagine what that is. I don't have any stock of food there. That's why I came home. I opened one of my father's drawers and took out his cash box. The contents haven't changed since the last time I looked inside. There were many new 10,000 yen bills in the cash box. I took them all. I couldn't tell how many bills there actually were, but it looked to be about 80 of them. This should be plenty. If I evaded them long enough to use all this money, that would mean that I did pretty well. Plus, I might use it to buy someone off. You can never have too much money, especially in a situation like this. Don't steal from your dad. I didn't take the bank book. If they were waiting in ambush at the bank, I'd be done for. It's too risky to withdraw money at the bank. I grabbed my backpack. I took the key for my bicycle. To be honest, when you started Higurashi with Chapter 1 that spoke of gods, demons, and curses, you never expected it to get to the point of having parasites and bioterrorism. How far we have come, indeed. I put everything I think would be convenient to have into the backpack. I didn't care if it got heavy. I'd choose what was necessary to carry around later at my hideout. If there ended up being something I didn't need, I could leave it there. I looked at the clock. It had been 30 minutes since I came home. I stayed here too long! I rushed out of the house. I went to a small convenience store and bought as much sweet bread and canned food as I could fit in my backpack. Nobody's gonna find it suspicious that this teenage girl is, like, spending 800,000 yen on food. An old lady was at the register, probably suffering from dementia. She showed no interest in the extraordinary amount of food I was buying. Oh, smart of her! She bought food from the dementia patient. Excellent. That's amazing. Really, really solid thinking. Is she actually gonna buy a gun or something? No, just food. But as soon as the manager of the store checked the sales that night, he'd find out. The idea didn't bother me because I could no longer walk around the village in the daylight anyway. My backpack was full, and the cans hurt my back as I walked. But that didn't bother me either. I got to my hideout, still carrying the heavy backpack. I organized the stuff I brought. It was very heavy to carry, but now I had sufficient food. The abandoned construction office still had running water, so I could get some from there. So she is going to the car. Let's go. I wanted to get some vegetables, but in a situation like this, I could hardly complain. After I organized things, I took out the scrapbooks I hid here and put my brain into top gear, flipping for the pages. So now what? How am I going to stand up against this gigantic conspiracy? I needed to calm down, stay cool, but also think fast. There might not be a lot of time, so I'd have to hurry, but I don't know what to do. It's easy to run to school in the morning when I oversleep. It's easy because I know where I should go, but now I don't know where I should go to or what I should do. Is that the same store at the dementia patient where the teddy bear meant for Satoko was? Maybe! Maybe, or maybe there's just more than one dementia patient in the Okinomiya area. Rena, you need to brush your teeth. No, brushing teeth is optional. I was about to make a mean joke there. I will refrain. Now that I've come to this point, I should tell Uisi-san everything. It's highly likely he's an enemy. But that doesn't matter anymore. If it was true, I'd just declare war. But if he was on my side, he'd be my only remaining hope. I'm far too weak to stand alone against the terrifying scale of this conspiracy poised to instill fear throughout Japan. I'd have to use a public phone to make the phone call. There's only one public phone in this village that stands at a place where it's hard for people to spot you. That phone booth. Is this the one Keiichi died in? I think it is. It stands in the middle of nowhere where literally nobody comes around to. Many bugs gather around the light when it's dark, and it's not a pleasant place to go to. But I can't think of any other public phones I can use to contact Uisi-san without being seen. Even though it stands in the middle of nowhere, it's still dangerous to use in the daylight. Okay, I know the car doesn't have wheels, but I gotta say, it will be very badass if Rena puts wheels on it and actually starts driving the car around if she gets found out later on. Even if she's going nuts. I should wait until nightfall and take advantage of the darkness. I heard that Uisi-san has been holed up in the station since Mio-san's murder case, so I should be able to reach him anytime. I have the number for the direct line to his office, too. The sky was still bright. Even though I had no time, I still had to wait for it to get dark. Frustrated, I glared at the sunset. I should find something to do. I couldn't waste any time that I had, so there must be something to do. That is the one that Akasaka went to. I forgot about that. After I thought about what I could do, I found there was something I wanted to confirm. Something I had been worried about. I couldn't do anything else before it got dark anyway. Staying here doing nothing would just make me more frustrated. I made my decision and left the hideout. Rena's father paced up and down restlessly in front of his house. A bicycle appeared, its rider ringing the bell. Uh-oh. He's doing a big— I got robbed! A police officer from the Hinamizawa police station had shown up. Having rushed to get there, he was breathing hard. He didn't close the door behind you, Rena. He led the police officer into the house. She left the cash box open.
金庫には触れてません。
Oh, no, they're gonna be like, oh, the only fingerprints on here are yours and your daughter's. And he's like, no, they were wearing gloves!
ただ中身を確認したので、中のものには少し触れています。
それで取られたものは？
貯金通帳と印鑑は大丈夫だったんですが、中に入ってた現金を全部。
通帳と印鑑大丈夫だったんですか？そりゃあ不幸中の幸いでしたね。最近は通帳から足がつくと思ってプロは現金しか持ってかないんですよね。
True.
こりゃだいぶ手慣れた空き巣かな。金庫ごと持ってかないでこの場で開けちゃうってんだから相当のプロだね。でお金はどのくらいやられちゃって？
ちょっと数えてなかったんですが、多分1万円札で100枚近くあったと
Oh,
思い
wait,
ます。
no, that's a million yen.
ああ、そう。それだけの現金が入ってること誰かに知らせた？
Oh, probably Rena. He doesn't know Rena's dead. Nobody
い
does.
え、誰にも知らせてはいませんが、あの女たちならこの家に金があることを知っていたかも。
Poor Rena's dad, man. I feel bad for this man.
あの女？ちょっとお話を聞かせていただけますか？
Misunderstandings everywhere, yes.
実はあまりみっともいい話じゃないんで。
Is this what's finally going to spark people being like, wait a second, Rena and Tepe haven't been seen in like a month?
マミヤ・リナという女とですね。
Just then the phone rang.
すみません、ちょっと出てきますね。すぐ戻ります。
He grabbed the phone.
はい、竜宮です。
すみません。前原と申しますが、レナさんはいらっしゃいますか？
レーナはまだ帰ってきてません。
You again? Keiichi, didn't you talk on the phone with her for an hour last night? You really have more to talk about? Sorry.
まだ帰ってない？
Rena bragged to her call girlfriends about the man she was conning. I mean, I can see that happening.
いや、申し訳ないんですが、ちょっと今立て込んでます。遊びの電話でしたら申し訳ないですね。失礼いたします。
He hung up after that. I was stunned. It didn't look like anything had changed on the surface. It was hard to find this place at all, because it perfectly blends in with the surroundings. I only found this place again because I remembered there was a tree with a big lump of wood on it nearby. The spot where I buried the corpses was perfectly camouflaged, as if nothing had happened. That's why, at first, I thought I came to the wrong place. Why are you back here again? But I could make certain once I stick a shovel into the ground. I should be able to tell right away whether this place was dug up before or not. After several false starts, I found the exact spot where I buried the corpses. Why would you dig them out? This is exactly the same dumb thing Keiichi tried to do in Chapter 3, and thankfully his friends moved the body. Or maybe there was no body there in the first place, apparently, according to the credits! But the biggest problem of all is that there are no bags in there at all. What the heck is happening? Why? How come? Did I bury them deeper than this? No, I didn't. I remember exactly how deep I buried them. I know I didn't bury them deeper than this. What is going on with these, like, we bury bodies and they just disappear? Are we getting an explanation for this as well? Imagine if we get explanations for Chapter 1 and 3 in this one single chapter. Did Mion move the body again? Mion, stop! I wasn't expecting this. Why are you trying to dig them up anyways? I came here to check the corpses. I just wanted to do that to kill some time. Why? I know she's delusional and insane right now, but still. I didn't want to stay in my hideout doing nothing, so I came here to check if the corpses I buried were still here. Why? This is so dumb! I'd make sure that they were still here, and I'd feel relieved. It was supposed to go like that! This was such an unexpected turn of events that I broke out into a cold sweat. What's going on? Yes! What is going on? I don't need to calm down to think about what happened. Corpses can't come back to life and crawl out of the ground. Somebody must have dug them out! Who did it, and for what purpose? Did anyone happen to see us burying the corpses here, and did they dig them out after we left? What if they handed them over to the police? No, it can't be. It had been quite a while since the day they were here. It was before the Watanagashi festival. So if the police did find the corpses, when Elise contacted me, he had to know about Rina and Teppei. But he didn't tell me anything about them. I don't think he was hiding anything on purpose either. So that means the police don't know about Rina and Teppei yet. So then why are the corpses gone? Why is the rum gone? That would only leave one answer. Who knows about this place? one of us came back here, dug out the bags, and took them away. Mion, we know you mean well, and your Yakuza probably has acid or something, but you're making your friends go crazy. That's really the only explanation. Except, no, it's not, because Chapter 3 literally revealed at the end that Teppei died in the gas, leak at the end from the swamp on that day. Meaning, apparently, we never killed him in Chapter 3. But we definitely did! That is the single biggest mind screw. The first person who comes to mind is Mion. I mean, the Sonozaki family. But I can't think of a reason why they would do that. The murder of Rina and Teppei has nothing to do with them. I'm sure they don't want to get involved either, let alone be falsely accused. They must want to stay as far away from this case as possible. Why would they want to keep the corpses? It's like keeping a Joker even though you'll lose if you have the Joker by the end of the game. If I was Michan, what would I do? What would I do if I was club president? The Joker is a card you want to get rid of, at least in the game I mentioned earlier, but it becomes the most powerful card in other games. What kind of game would that be? An electric shock ran through my spine. At the same time I realized it, they're one step ahead of me. The Sonozaki family got the corpses to use them as a Joker, as a wild card. They're trying to use them to sell me out to the police. The Sonozaki family's trying to kill me using their death squad, but they want to have insurance just in case they fail. You think something is making Artie crazy right now? I told you what it is that I can't figure out! The thing they're afraid of the most is that I might work together with the police. If they could prevent that from happening, I'd have no one to work with. If that happens, I can no longer run away from them. I'd still be a fish in their pond. They're going to use the corpses to sell me out to the police for the murder of Rina and Teppei, which you did do! If the police started seeing me as a suspect, they'd never listen to my story. They could have been my last hope, but this will certainly turn them against me. But I'm sure the Sonozaki family doesn't want to use their Joker unless absolutely necessary. After all, Mio and Sonozaki helped bury the corpses. Plus, they don't want the police to hover around Himenizawa when the day of revival is so close. Also, Rena, Mion, if you think is against you, she knows where your hideout is, so your hideout's not going to be a safe place. I'm going to call Luisi tonight, and I'm going to ask him for help. I'm going to tell him everything, including the things I haven't even told Keiichi-kun. I don't know if Luisi will believe me. This is a gamble, and my chance of winning is very small. Plus, my worst enemy has the Joker, the bags with the corpses inside. I'm impressed with Mion. That's just what I'd expect from the leader of our club. This is a battle that I'm betting my life on. But to Mion, this is like a board game, taking place across Hinamizawa itself. I grinned, repeating to myself that it's just a game. I put my life on the line for every club activity we do, because I don't want to suffer the punishment. This time, that's become the literal truth. There could only be one reason why they're trying so hard to drive me into a corner. It's because they're afraid of me. I assumed I was just a little girl with no power running out in confusion, but my enemy must not be thinking that way. If they didn't think I was a threat to them, they wouldn't take risks like this to drive me into a corner. That means the scrapbooks Mio-san left me must be way more dangerous to them than I think they are. Is Rena going to try to sell it by the way, Mion killed these people and has their dead bodies somewhere to Luisi? Is she gonna Uno reverse this? I see. They have a Joker, but so do I. The Joker I have is so deadly and so powerful that it can break their plot into pieces. That's why they're so eager to find me. Ha ha ha. A cornered mouse really can bite a cat. I have felt my fear towards my enemy fade away all of a sudden. Just as I fear them, so do they fear me too. So this is an evenly matched game. I don't have as bad of a hand as I thought I did. I was right to come here. I found out about the card my enemy was holding. This is a big deal. I felt myself shiver with excitement. I grinned to encourage myself. I don't need to be here any longer. They know this place. They might come here to find me. It's not safe for me to stay here for long. I decided to go back to my hideout. On the way back, I passed close to my house. I noticed something different right away. I hid behind a bush and looked at the front gate of my house. She's gonna overhear the police report and she's gonna misinterpret things and be like, they're trying to arrest me. My father was talking to a police officer. I strained to catch their conversation. My father pointed to the place I usually parked my bicycle. Why is he speaking in red text too? Michan, you're good. Did you already play your Joker? Miyonori starts a battle by attacking without hesitation and wins. It seems like the police are already after me. My chance of being able to explain the conspiracy to Uisi was already small, but this makes it even smaller. No. That's why I'm going to talk to Uisi. He sees the Sonozaki family as his enemy, and he's trying to expose everything about them before his retirement. That's why he'll be on my side. He's not going to fall for their trick. Of course, there's a very high possibility that everything was part of their trap from the very beginning. It's possible that he claimed the Sonozaki family was his enemy in order to make me believe that he's on my side. But their Joker is actually giving me hope. If Uisi is one of them, it would be too early to play their Joker. Uisi isn't one of them. That's why they got the Joker, so they can play it before I go to the police. No, wait, that might be a trick to make me think that way in order to make me trust Uisi. When Mion gives me two choices to choose from, it's usually better to choose the one I like without thinking too much. Mion, after all, likes to guess people's intentions in order to confuse them. So when you think about a choice too much, you're already in her trap. I'm going to do as I planned. I'm going to call Uisi after it gets dark. If he's going to become my ally, we can talk about the future. And if he isn't, that I realized was what I had to think about before it got dark. Wow. Wowie zowie. Well,
いえいえ、時間のことは気にしないでくださいよ。
You know what? I think we're going to end the stream there. Because those parts took a bit longer than expected to get through. It's around the 2-hour mark now. And the way I see it, we're either going to need to spend a really long time on one or more stream, or we'll just finish it up in the next 2 streams. So I think the plan is, next stream, we'll get the next 2 tip sections, and then the final stream on Friday, we will finish the chapter and do the after party / new conversation. So, sorry, we're leaving it on a bit of a cliffhanger, but that's how we're gonna do it. We saved it. Oh no, don't worry about calling me late. That's what we're gonna have. That's what's gonna happen on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in for that. It should be interesting. This chapter is fantastic. Wow, I'm blown away by how good this is. Yeah, thanks for joining in and chatting, everybody. I hope you have a great, fantastic rest of your night, and God bless everybody.